I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about true crime and psychology. Thank you so much for joining. Let's hop right into today's topic. Let's go. Welcome. I'm Dr. Barry, and today I wanted to discuss a recent case. And if the defendant hadn't had an emotional response during the opening statements, I don't even know if this case would have come up. And so we're going to talk about it. So this is the state of Florida against George Pino. It's my understanding, I think he's a developer in the area, and there's already been a civil side of this incident it's my understanding that's already been settled. I did check out defense diaries and then also Cat. I think is it Cat, but it's a female that does legal, or like she talks about cases, not Cat Williams, like the comedian. But she did a really good background of this case, and I just wanted for us to have a chat about it here. Defense diaries, they were, I think, really friendly to the idea that an individual that is on trial, it would be normal for emotions to come up. I did just contrast it with the emotions of the victim's dad today. So, if you know nothing about this case, there's a full description and overview down in the description. But George Pino, they were celebrating his daughter's birthday, and they had this event, and they played pickleball. They had all of these things planned. It sounds like they were at a private like golf or country club, and then about 14 people get on his boat. It's a very large boat. They all get on his boat. I just personally note that nobody was wearing life jackets, and that might be common for people that boat regularly. I'm big on safety first, last, and in the middle. And so anytime that I go tubing, so I actually enjoy going tubing. Locally, we have Lake Anna, and a company I used to work for, we used to have a staff event where the boss, they own a boat, and they would take us out on the boat, and I always wore my life jacket. I can swim, but my thing was always, if I'm out tubing, if for some reason I pass out for some reason, I want to survive. And then even on the boat, I still wear my life jacket because that is just me. Yes, thank you for mentioning this. It was Ocean Reef Private Yacht Club is kind of where some of the festivities happen. They do acknowledge that the adults were drinking some, and the adults allowed the children to have some alcohol as well. The children were probably age like 17 to maybe 18 or 19. I don't know their ages for sure. And so he is going about 40 miles per hour, and they have information about the crash. I think the defense is going to challenge some of the data that came from his boat, but the state alleges that he ended up crashing into this marker. And so that there was this, I think they said it was green. There was this marker out, and he crashed directly into it. It's my understanding that he had been that way before. After the crash, he acknowledges having 2 beers. Nobody says that he was impaired. So even the victim's father that testified today, he had no concerns prior to this incident. And I don't know if so George Pino, he's charged with manslaughter. I believe it's 2nd-degree manslaughter. That is what he is charged with. The defense is saying this was all just one big accident. Okay. But while the defense is doing opening statements and talking about, that George Pino was like a camp counselor to the kids, and he was planning the activities, and he was doing all of this. The state objects, and the camera pans over, and so it did look like he was having a panic attack. So this whole time, because even if you watch him in court today, I don't know what his normal breathing is like or what he normally does, but during testimony, he's kind of sitting with his mouth open, just like slightly open, and he's just kind of staring ahead. But at this point, he like, and a lot of people are commenting that they didn't see tears. There was a reaction. Now, was it a Shonda Vander Ark type reaction? But that's where it was just, I wish they had showed him some while the state was doing their opening. So I don't know if all of this only happened during the defense's opening, because I think the state was kind of keeping an eye on it. And I think the state is just not objecting because he's still shown emotions today. The judge has offered that he can be in a separate room. So if he's not able to manage his emotions and reactions in court, that he can go to a separate room. And this is where defendants are kind of like in a catch 22, where if you show too much emotion, then, you can be reprimanded. But that's where I think people would just wonder if it's, you know, people would just have questions about things. In the father's testimony, so if you didn't watch some of the victim's father's testimony from today, he just talks about how he went to George Pino's wedding, and and the guest he brought to that wedding was his future wife. These families have known each other for a very long time. And George, the victim's father, Mr. Hernandez, he is asked questions, and you could just see the pain in his face, the pain in his voice, because the state asked him, was he a camp counselor? And he's like we didn't refer to him that way. Um, I think the state is going to try to challenge some of the defense's narratives, but the victim's father just so happens to be a lawyer. He used to be a public defender. He now works for banks. And my heart just breaks for that victim's families. And then it's my understanding that there might be one or two other girls that were on the yacht that day that have traumatic brain injuries, that have major things. And the defendant also sustained a traumatic brain injury, and they are going to talk about false memories. That's according to the defense. So yesterday, after George Pino's emotional response, they pause court, the jury exits. He does get it together relatively quick, like not completely, like he's still kind of hyperventilating a little. I personally wondered if he had a panic attack. And a part of that could be just like the weight of this trial, the weight of what does this mean for me and my family. Nobody knows what's going on in his mind. But even today, when his defense was talking about how George Pino has to live with the fact that he was operating a boat, that it was his boat, that resulted in the death of one of his daughter's good friends, like that he has to live with that for the rest of his life. And what they're going to try to determine was there a crime? Was his operation of that boat, does it reach the level of legal criminal negligence? So it's my understanding they've already come to a settlement on the civil side, but this is now the criminal side, seeing what happens there. Hey, Kathy. Hello to everybody in the chat. This is so much. And Kathy, let me know if you would want to collaborate on a video talking about the new charges against, y'all know me in names, Daisy Link. If you'd want to collaborate on that, I'll text you. But that's my thoughts for down the road. I think there is going to be mental health testimony that comes into this case, and his emotions do not seem regulated at all. But I think this is a highly emotional event, and I don't think he meant for anybody to die and to have to sit with that. I don't know what area of his brain was impacted, but I do think that there will be somebody that comes in and provides information later. The victim's family was in court, and they actually pan over to them during the father's testimony today. And they are also having responses, like understandably, like they're crying. And sometimes the judge would ask the victim's family to also like, and so I think the judge just isn't reprimanding anybody. And she's just like, okay, like this is just going to be an emotional trial. This is just, there's just going to be a lot of emotions unless the state objects. The state objected a lot during the defense's opening. And I think that's just like they were trying to keep some stuff out. And George Pino's perspective is going to be that it was a accident. He was knocked unconscious. He's actually the one, because unfortunately, the victim, Lucy Hernandez, she ended up being trapped under the capsized boat. So the boat flipped over and she ended up under there, and he reached under, and while he has a concussion and a traumatic brain injury, so the defense really harped on the fact that he's the one that pulled her out. And but they do argue false memories and confabulation. So I think they believe that some of the statements he gave, that that there are things going on with that. And Kathy, I saw your text, and yes, let's collaborate on that. I will text you back after this is done. But I think this is going to be an emotional trial. I wouldn't have watched it if it hadn't been for the like pictures, like, because court ended. So the day that he had that big emotional response, the judge brought the jury back, and the judge blamed it on the AC. The judge was like, the AC, we don't know which room we're the judge did not let the jury know that the defendant possibly had a medical episode and was going to be evaluated. The jury didn't need to know that. They didn't need to know that at all. If you remember, in the Shonda Vander Ark trial, one of their things on appeal is the fact that she had that emotional thing on the stand and that she was unable to return to court, and she was never evaluated or anything like that. I was surprised that somebody didn't prescribe him some like uh um, a medication like a benzodiazepine or something. Once again, I'm not recommending any specific medications, but I have worked with clients that had to testify in court, and their prescriber did provide them with something for the night before court, because often people don't sleep very well. Their prescriber did provide them something for like before court. And people have to be careful, because sometimes those medications can make it difficult to think. It can make people feel sleepy. So there have been times where defendants have gotten up on the stand, and I personally wondered, were they on some type of medication? Were they prescribed an ongoing medication? I've sometimes had questions about that. And so the judge complained about courtroom temps even before trial started, because there were so many people in the room. Okay. But the judge was very creative, and the jury did not know that court ended because the defendant was going to get a medical evaluation. Maxie Grows and Sows says, as for his crying, I believe he did everything he could to muster up some tears. I don't know. He eventually got one, or it could have been, all right. And so I do know today he had similar like huffing and puffing today, but like I said, the way that he's breathing, and I'm a nose breather, but like the way he's breathing almost looks like hyperventilating. And if he was my outpatient client, I would be encouraging, and there are times he tries to sip water, he tries to write. His lawyers are keeping an eye because you'll see his lawyers lean over to him and kind of once again encourage him to keep his emotions in check. The state wanted the judge to admonish him on this, and the judge was like, I've talked to his lawyers, and his lawyers are going to advise him on it. The judge did not say, like, if this continues, I will definitely kick you out into the other viewing room. The judge didn't say that that would definitely happen. And like I said, I think this judge has let some things just kind of, because he's still huffing and puffing today, I thought. Sour candy. So I don't know if he's wanting the jury to see how gutted he is about all of this. Because if you remember, there were times that we've covered cases and we're like, the defendant is just showing no emotion at all. Like they're showing, and it might have been like their child that died, or like they're showing autopsy photos and this person is having no reaction. And often we kind of, I don't know, like, because you want to see some type of guilt or remorse. And so maybe he thinks that's what he's showing, but you can go overboard and the jury could perceive it as a performance. The jury could perceive it as like, I wonder if that was just for us. The jury might start looking for some tears. I do wonder if later, if there will be any testimony about his brain injury and how that impacts him. Does that impact his, because most TBIs do affect emotion regulation, things like that. But outside of the presence of the jury, it doesn't seem to happen. But like that's normally when the distressing information has stopped. And this is a highly emotional case. So I'm keeping an eye on it. I do not know what this jury is going to decide. I don't know that he would want to accept anything more than not guilty. So I think he fully believes that this was an accident. So I don't know if there would have been any type of plea deal. I do know that the state did not charge him with operating under the influence. So while he did not complete a field sobriety test. And after the head injury, really the only thing you could maybe do is get a blood alcohol level, because if at the scene, if the officers had done some type of field sobriety, like a breathalyzer or something, and if he, I don't know the laws in Florida for operating a boat, because even the victim's father, he mentioned that he had, was it a rum and coke? He had some type of drink, and he was also operating another boat. And he had one drink and he got safely to his destination. I'm I'm a big safety first, last, and the middle. I'm a big I would not want to be on a boat with somebody that was drinking. Like that's just my own personal thing. Alcohol slows down your response times. Now, I think this is something that he did regularly. I don't think this was anything because nobody thought he was impaired. But if you're in a crisis, if you need to react quickly, alcohol can have an impact on some of that. I'm not saying that's what happened. Oh, I lost my camera. I'm not saying that's what happened in this case. Let me switch to my other camera. Hopefully y'all can still hear me. There we go. Let's see if she decides to come back. Let's just do this one. Hmm. My camera's being weird. Sorry about that. Oh, there we go. There we go. It switched over to my other camera. It is what it is. I can't with technology today. I will just be keeping an eye on this case. Later today, I will be covering the Carmelo Anthony. I don't know if we'll have a verdict today, but I will be talking about that case a little later today. I think he might be convicted of manslaughter. We will see. That they did include a lesser included, and I have lots of thoughts on that case, but we will do that later today. I'm keeping an eye on a verdict, so stay tuned because if the verdict comes in between like 4 and 6, I might schedule that one to go live before 6 p.m. But I appreciate you all. I will see you all next time. Be kind, don't do crimes, and I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.